Hello, my name is Benjamin Hart. I'm an American attorney and the Managing Director of Integrity Legal here in Bangkok, Thailand. As the title of this video suggests, we're going to be discussing USCIS and the recent announcement that they are closing international operations. So let's first of all go to the source material on this. This is from the New York Times, nytimes.com. The title of the article is Trump Administration Plans to Close Key Immigration Operations Abroad. Quoting directly, the Trump administration is preparing to shutter many of its immigration operations abroad, cutting back on a key support system for those applying overseas to relocate to the United States. The director of the United States Citizenship and Immigration Services, L. Francis Cisna, told senior staff members this week that the international division, which has operations in more than 20 countries, would close down by the end of the year, according to two people with knowledge of the meeting. Quoting further, the Overseas Division provides logistical assistance to American citizens, lawful permanent residents, and refugees seeking to bring their families to the United States. People who have been persecuted and wish to resettle in the United States, Americans who adopt children internationally, and members of the military and their families applying for citizenship. It also plays a crucial role in immigration fraud detection. The International Operations Division has about 240 employees working at 24 field offices in 21 countries. So specific to Thailand, how is this new policy shift, if you will, going to have an impact on U.S. immigration matters beginning in Thailand? Well, pretty substantially, especially for those expats who live in Thailand. USCIS does have a field office here in Bangkok. That field office does accept petitions for spouses of American citizens to immigrate to the United States, and in the past, it has been very useful for those who have been living prolonged periods of time in Thailand to go ahead and get their spouse back in the United States. In fact, in many ways, it was kind of an expedited process compared to processing inside the United States through the normal channels. Now, that being said, it was only by dint of the fact that they had a lower caseload and they were processing cases that literally just needed to go across the street to the U.S. Embassy side here in Bangkok. But that being said, it was faster and it did offer some benefits to Americans living in Thailand. There were jurisdictional requirements placed on Americans living in Thailand with respect to this, in the sense that you couldn't just be in Thailand for a week or something and try to file at this local office. You really had to prove up a residential situation for an American citizen here. But that being said, it was a real benefit, and it was very convenient in many ways for Americans living in Bangkok or living in Thailand, Greater Thailand generally. For this reason, I think it's going to be a real problem for Americans who are looking to immigrate back to the United States. Problem's the wrong word. I take that back. It's going to be a delayed process for Americans looking to bring Thais back to the United States, even if they were living abroad. Now, in the announcements and some of the press releases I've read with respect to this, U.S. embassies and consulates are supposed to be picking up the slack when these USCIS offices return to the United States. That remains to be seen. That being said, in the past, especially with the, enlargement of the scope of USCIS lockbox facilities in the United States with respect to jurisdiction, whereas once, generally speaking, they only accepted cases for those who were filing inside the United States, and then one was sort of compelled to either utilize what's called a direct consular filing through a U.S. embassy or U.S. consulate abroad, or utilize the facilities of a USCIS field office abroad, for example, here in Thailand. That looks like it's going away, where the lockbox is now taking global jurisdiction. It looks like they're trying to sort of funnel all of these cases through one queue, if you will, through one process. Now, certain developments with respect to the national visa centers, changes with respect to documentation requirements, notably the fact that documents can now be uploaded digitally to NVC directly. I think the thinking is that overall the system has become much more streamlined, and for this reason it's no longer at least with respect to locally filed I-130s abroad, I think the thinking is that it's no longer really all that necessary. But that being said, that's not the only thing. In fact, that was not the primary thing that any of these USCIS field offices ever did. In fact, refugee services, asylum services, and the documentation and processing associated therewith, as well as things like 407 surrenders, that's surrender of lawful permanent residence or surrender of a green card abroad. Many of these field offices undertook a great deal of work with respect to those specific functions. Meanwhile, as mentioned in that article that I just quoted, U.S. military personnel oftentimes enjoy benefits from the facilities of USCIS abroad. So there were many functions that USCIS's international division did assist with, and it looks as though in the future that's no longer going to be the case. And specifically for Bangkok, I think if we see the USCIS field office closed down, it will probably result in something of a disruption to the normal flow of immigration cases going through at least our office, and I think it's going to have an impact on expats living in Thailand for the foreseeable future.